We managed to work that out. We got Kevo.
There we go. Hey, how are you, Matty?
Good, mate. I'll get into this just before we start. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is one of those special Sunday night editions of like everyone does with everything, because tonight we're joined not by an Aussie, as you've seen. We've got Kevin Hines here with us, who he's helping us out. He's 7 o'clock in the morning over there. He's all the way from Atlanta in Georgia, so we're very grateful for Kevo to be joining us. As I said, I've gone across the world to find an expert here because I guess on my journey, there's not many other people that I've turned to that have the knowledge and the experiences that Kevo has. And I think most people that will join us tonight have a huge understanding of what Kevin's journey looks like, knowing that most of his videos and things have been viral across most Facebook feeds. So before I get into Kevo, obviously, I just want to thank the Resilience Agenda, again, as our sponsors of the show, changing the meaning of mental health. And imagine a world where people are inspired to think of their mental fitness just like their physical fitness, and to know the tools and strategies that make learning about our own mental health more relevant, more engaging, and more inspiring. You can find that right here from the desk of your office with these new resilience agendas. I've got them all in at the moment. And as I said, I'll be sending those out to the people that engage with our videos on every episode. So thanks, Hadley and the team at Resilience Agenda, for that kind, generous donation to Mindful Oz. Also, I want to do a big shout out to Jason Rantle. Jason Rantle, man, you ran 24 hours straight starting at 11 o'clock a.m. on Saturday. As I tried to explain to Kevo, Crazy Jason, as he used to get called, he lives with bipolar as well, the same as me and Kevo. He went and ran over 160 kilometres to raise funds for Christmas on the streets, the homeless, and I'm just so inspired by it. And as I was talking to Kevo prior to just going live, Jason, if you're listening in, mate, I've got you a gift from the very man himself, Kevin Hines, his book, Cracked Not Broken, and you are receiving a signed copy from Kevo. As it says in there, be here tomorrow. And I know you will, mate, because you're an absolute legend and the work you do doesn't go unnoticed. You inspire me. And just from telling Kevo just then, it inspires him as well. So big shout out to Jason. I hope you've got those feet up, mate, and keep them up for a week. Also, to everyone out there, tonight's episode will be a lot heavier than the ones we've done previous. And as you know, everything that I do with my advocacy at Mindful Oz is from the heart. And it is honest, it is authentic, and it's our journeys. It doesn't have to be yours, and this is why we do the work that we do. So remember that these episodes are with experts. We are trained. We do things in a safe and harmless way. But do know that if you are going through or experiencing suicidal crisis or mind and behavioural health challenges, to reach out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 46 36. Now, into this amazing man that's sitting next to me right now, joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, Kevin Hines. He's a storyteller at heart, a best-selling author, as you've seen in that book. He's a global public speaker and an award-winning documentary filmmaker. In the year 2000, Kevin attempted to take his life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. Many factors contributed to his miraculous survival, including a sea lion, which kept him afloat until the Coast Guard arrived. And we will get to that in this story tonight, because that is one of the most, it's a miracle, and that's all it is. And I want to keep talking about that tonight, because we've got to look at the stories of the hope that's in this as well, not just the pains and traumas that he's been through. So Kevin now travels the world sharing the stories of hope, healing, and recovery, while teaching people of all ages the art of wellness and the ability to survive the pain with true resilience. His fight has been long, strenuous, difficult, and it's a day-to-day battle. But he is determined to remain committed to life until its natural end, and that's why we love him. In 2016, Mental Health America awarded Kevin their highest honour, the Clifford W. Beers Award, for his efforts to improve the lives and attitudes of people living with mental illness. Previously, he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the National Council of Behavioural Health, and he's also been awarded by SAMHSA as a Voice Awards Fellow and Award winner. He's also, and I've been on the receiving end of seeing Kevin or witnessed Kevin receiving some of these. He's received 30 US Military Excellent medallions as a civilian and for his work towards the US forces, which is incredible. He now sits on the boards of International Bipolar Foundation, the Bridge Rail Foundation, and the Mental Health Association of San Francisco, and on the Survivors Committee of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Along with his book, Kevin got to work documenting video focusing on the devastating effects of suicide and the tremendous positive ripple effects of advocacy, inspiration, and hope that are helping millions heal and save lives, including coming over here and working with us in Australia, which we're very grateful for. This documentary, Suicide, the Ripple Effect, which I'm sure a lot of you would have seen because it's been on cinema screens all around the world. It's now on iTunes, and we'll get to that later because we want everyone to go on and make sure that we do see it and do give it a rating. It was earned Kevin and the team 6 international awards for the documentary, but personally what I found staggering was the amount of lives that this movie can now be credited with saving or changing for the better, including this email that was sent to the team, and I just want to read this out. This is from Gavin via email in 2017. This is the second note I'm writing today. My wife and daughters won't have to read the first one tomorrow because I've just seen your film on Facebook entirely by chance. That is the power of storytelling, and this is why this guy will continue to change a lot of lives. And I encourage every single person out there to share your stories because they do bring hope, healing, and recovery the same way it has to me. Kevin's will to live and stay mentally well has inspired people right around the world, including myself. His compelling stories has touched diverse global audiences within colleges and universities, high schools, corporations, military, clinicians, health and medical communities, law enforcement, and everywhere else you can imagine. Thousands have communicated to Kevin that his story has helped save their life or changed it positively, and I'm one of those. He's reached millions and millions with his story. His story has also been featured in the 2006 film The Bridge by the director and producer Eric Steele. Kevin believes in the power of the human spirit and in the fact that you can find the ability to live mentally well. His mantra, life is a gift, that is why they call it the present, cherish it always. His motto, be here tomorrow and every damn day after that. Kevo, my brother, it was my rediscovery of hope visible in people's kindness towards me that enables me to be here today and be alive and be well. But it was also my rediscovery of hope visible in your advocacy, your story, and your ability to show people living with brain pain, which was what I was, that it is possible. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me and for millions of people across the world. Welcome to Confined by Walls, Not by Heart. Kevo Hines.
Wow, Maddie, one hell of an intro. I was not prepared for, so thank you very much. It means the world that my story had a positive effect on your life. And I love you, buddy. You're one of the best out there doing it. So I'm just grateful to be a part of the show and glad to be here next to you as well.
No, I love it, mate. And I know the whole Mindful Oz following has been following your journey with me. I scream it from the rafters. So as you can see, we've got a lot of people jumping on tonight already. There's a lot of comments in here. I encourage everyone. I'm going to try and direct Kevo's story to the parts where I know it'll blow your mind and also provide you with the tools and skill sets to go away from this inspired and move to action. But if you have questions, please send them in. Kevo's an open book. And while you've got this guy from all over the other side of the world, please pick his brain. It's a brilliant one. So first, Kevo, I want to ask.
Yeah.
You spend 300 days of the year on the road, traveling and probably meeting upwards of 500,000 people a year in audiences and auditoriums all around the world. All of a sudden, you're confined by your walls there in Atlanta, Georgia, just you and Margie. Your life's been thrown upside down, mate. It's very different to what it's been for a long time. How are you coping?
Coping really well. Spending quality time with my best friend, my wife, Margaret Hines, has been phenomenal. We haven't had this much quality time together for the better part of 6 years. I've been on the road, 300 plus days a year for the past 6 years, and being home with Margaret has been a godsend. She's an amazing woman. I'm lucky to have her. She came into my life at a time when I was in desperate pain. She saved my life on more times than I can count on my appendages from suicidal ideation. And I'm just so blessed to be with her and to have her have fallen in love with me, and we best friends get to hang out all day. It's great.
I love that, mate. If I could have one person that I could be locked in a room with that I know I'm going to get endless amounts of laughs and support and care, it would be Margie too. So, mate, I know that she's probably pulling her hair out with you, but no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
You're not lying, man. You're not lying.
Firstly, Kevo, I know I've heard your story so many times and we've got so much engagement already. I'm loving it. So keep it all coming. I've heard your story. It always gives me goosebumps. As someone has already said, badass intro, mate. It looks like you're going to cry. I felt that because this guy means the world to me and this guy's impacted the lives of so many people. I'm only here because of this guy. So please, people, keep engaging tonight because you're going to get a shitload out of it if you really want. So, Kevo, take us back to the very start, mate. I have had a really privileged upbringing and one I always talk about I'm very grateful for. There is a lot of people that aren't like me that didn't get that, mate. Do you want to take us back to the very start and how this journey started for you?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about adverse child experiences. Let's get into it. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was born to severe poverty, to biological parents, as I'm adopted, who were in a world of pain themselves. And after they had me and my brother, they very shortly thereafter took up, sadly, substance use disorder and drugs and alcohol. And I was born in one of the worst neighborhoods in San Francisco, then one of the worst neighborhoods in San Francisco today. And there were concrete slab floors in this kind of apartment complex, box springs for mattresses, and it was the kind of place you paid for by the hour, and if you didn't, you were out. That's where my life really began. And my brother and I were taken away, ripped from our birth parents' arms by the police and child protective custody, placed into foster care, placed in that program that was in shambles, that was running amok, that was not doing well. We know that foster care kids age out to 18 into homelessness onto the streets without a penny in their pockets, or they get adopted or taken in by foster parents that have no business being parents, and they're neglectful and abusive. And so my brother and I bounced around from home to home, wherein we both got bronchitis, and he died. The closest person to me who I saw, smelled, heard, touched, disappeared without a trace. And I would very soon thereafter develop severe abandonment issues and a detachment disorder from reality that was very real at my infancy, that would follow me for the rest of my life. And unlike my poor brother Jordash, I got very lucky. I landed in the home of Patrick and Deborah Hines. You know my last name, so you know this works out. So spoiler alert. But Pat and Debbie Hines, they took me in and made me their son. There's my dad there, me and my sister Elizabeth. We're both adopted from two different families into one. We have a brother as well, and he's a different family as well into one. I'm mixed race. My sister's white, my brother's black, so we're a mixed family, beautiful family. And Pat and Debbie Hines absolutely 110% saved our lives. If it hadn't been for them, we'd be in the gutter, we'd be in the streets, or we'd be dead. And, you know, I'm very blessed to have been taken in by them and made into a Hines. And for all intents and purposes, they're not my adopted family. They were my mom and dad. That being said, growing up in this household, the Hines family, I thought, how could anything go sideways from here? We're going to grow up. We're going to live this great life. I'm going to go get to that good school my dad's always talking about. I'm going to grab that great job he's always speaking on, and I'm going to coast through life. I've got opportunity. I've got people that love me. I've got unconditional love for my family, my extended family, my aunts and uncles, and everybody in between. How could anything go sideways from here? And yet everything would. I don't know if you want to stop there and get into it more, but that's really my childhood was fantastic. My infancy was terrible. And that brings us to 17 and a half, when my brain completely broke and I had a complete mental breakdown on a stage in front of 1,200 people. And that's where everything from that day, that on that stage, that's when everything changed.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think from there, Kevo, as you said, I know the story so well. A lot of people won't, but I think in order for us to take this interview towards the end with heaps of hope, healing, and recovery, and walking away from this uplifted with techniques, tools, and strategies, we really have to take people through the troughs before we take to the peaks to understand exactly what you have been through. And I know that you don't mind doing so. Talk about that 17 years old, the high school, and ongoing from there, and how you started to identify with these feelings and thoughts that you were experiencing and the impacts of them.
Absolutely. So I'm 17 and a half. I'm looking out at a crowded theater full of people. Not one seat is open, 1,200 people. And I begin to believe in a fit of extreme paranoid delusion that all 1,200 people were going to simultaneously rush the stage and end my life. So I run off stage, I run to the lobby. The theater director was there. He begs me to finish the show. He ends up going on for me because I can't finish the show. My mom picks me up, and I never will forget the look in her eyes as she looked into mine, because I could see that she saw within them the depths of insanity brewing behind them. And, from that point on, I go see my first psychiatrist. They misdiagnosed me. They end up diagnosing me with bipolar disorder, type 1 with psychotic features, which I'd be triply diagnosed with over the course of my lifetime. I'm placed on medications, too many, in fact, at the time, that were toxifying my brain, making me worse. And I end up at 19, 2 years after my breakdown on that stage, contemplating suicide heavily. And at 19 years of age, I make a plan to go to the Golden Gate Bridge and to take my life. That morning, my dad begged me to be with him. He tried so hard to reach me. But what he didn't do, and this is no fault of his own, because he didn't know the tools for suicide prevention. What parent, before it's too late, is taught the tools of suicide prevention? Unless you're in the mental health field, you're not. And he tried that day. He was like, "Oh, be with me today. I just want you to be with me today. I'm worried about you." But see, he didn't quite know why he was worried. He just had this feeling as a gut instinct, as a parent who was doing a great job and who was a great dad. And nonetheless, I ended up making my way to City College that day, and then I ended up making my way to the Golden Gate Bridge. And on this bus, I remember sitting in the very back row in the middle seat, crying like a baby, waterfalls pouring from my eyes, the mucus from my nose, and I was all over the place. And now I'm screaming aloud at the voices in my head, yelling, "Leave me alone. I don't want to die. Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" And having 100 people then turn and look at me and say absolutely nothing, except for one man. And you know the story, Matt. The guy to my left says to the fellow next to him, while pointing at me with his thumb, with a literal smile on his face, "What the hell's wrong with that kid?" And that was so hurtful. It was so mind-bending. It was so back-breaking. And it hurt so bad to see that not one person was able to look me in the eyes, see my pain, and offer me some words of hope or wisdom or even kindness and compassion. Not one person. The bus gets to the Golden Gate. Everybody deboards but me. I sit there crying my eyes out, hoping beyond all hopes, wishing beyond all wishes, and praying beyond all prayers that the bus driver is going to see my pain and say something kind. But instead, he says, "Come on, kid, get off the bus. I got to go." I walk up to this man. I look him right in his eyes. He motions to me to get off the bus. I walk down the 2 steps. I walk across the 2-mile stretch of walkway that is the GGB, the Golden Gate. I paced back and forth, Maddie, for 40 minutes, crying like a baby. Bikers, joggers, tourists, runners, police officers searching for suicidal people, they all went by me twice. It was a nightmare. And I stood over a particular light rail. And that's when a woman from my left approached me. And I really believed, Maddie, I believed she was going to ask me if I was okay. And instead she said, "Will you take my picture?" and handed me a camera. I took her picture 5 times. She walked away after saying thank you. And my mind said, absolutely nobody cares. And the worst part about it, Maddie, is that was the furthest thing from the truth. Everybody cared. I was no burden to anyone who loved me. They needed me here. They never wanted me to die with my hands. And to everybody watching right now who's in that rut, in that place of such immeasurable, lethal emotional pain, who's considering taking their life or self-harming, listen to me. Your thoughts do not have to become your actions. Your thoughts don't have to own, rule, and define your next action. They're just thoughts. You can defeat them. We can do one of 2 things with mental pain. We can let it defeat us, or we can let it build us brick by brick from the ground up. What will your pain do to you today? It is up to you. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Hear me out. Every clinician we've ever been to, you walk in the room, they assess you for 15 minutes, and they say, you're suffering from bipolar disorder. You're suffering from schizophrenia. You're suffering from blah, 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 blah. They give you this narrative that you are a sufferer and that you don't have the ability to overcome your pain. And thus you walk home that day and you say to yourself, well, I'm suffering and I can't do anything. And it's just nonsense. Pain is inevitable. It's coming for all of us if it hasn't already. But suffering is optional. It's a choice. You can choose to thrive in spite of the pain. And I didn't know that, Maddie, until after I attempted to go take my life off the Golden Gate Bridge, a way that is 99% fatal. But I don't recommend that for anybody. What I recommend for you is to never learn the hard way like I did. Fight the pain in spite of the pain, despite of the pain, to thrive with me today, and recognize your own true value, that you are worthy, that you matter, that you are so important, and that you matter to me and Maddie and everybody on this feed, and that your life is crucial for you to find and obtain wellness and well-being, and it is entirely plausible, most likely with a great deal of hard work.
Yeah, absolutely, Keva, absolutely. And this is where it starts to get a lot better. I mean, yes, you've got yourself to the Golden Gate Bridge, and I don't need to keep painting that picture, but the hope is just up ahead. This is where the miracle happens. Yes, it was, and I think the most important part that you're about to say is instant regret.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The millisecond my hands left that rail and my legs cleared it, it was an instantaneous regret for my actions and the 100% recognition that I just made the greatest mistake of my life and it was too late. And as I fell 220 feet, 25 stories at 75 miles an hour in 4 seconds, these were the thoughts that rang true in my mind. What have I just done? I don't want to die. God, please save me. I hit the water. I went down 70 feet, opened my eyes. I was drowning. I made it 70 feet in one breath, 70 feet without the use of my legs. I swam as fast as my arms would take me. It was the fastest I ever swam in my life because all I wanted to do was live. And when I got to the surface, a couple things had happened. A woman driving by in a red car saw me go over the rail and called her friend in the United States Coast Guard, who happened to be manning the waters that day. The only reason the Coast Guard boat arrived to my position in the water before I was set in hypothermia and drowned was because that woman made that phone call. Next to that, as I'm flailing in the water trying to stay afloat, I keep going down, swallowing salt water and coming up and spitting it out. And I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I'm going to drown. This is it. This is where I die. And that's when something began to circle beneath me, something very large and very slimy and very, very alive. And I remember thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't die off the Golden Gate Bridge and this shark is going to devour me. I'm freaking out trying to punch this thing, but it won't go away. And that's when I realized it's not biting me. It's not taking a chunk out of my leg. It's only keeping me buoyant. I'm no longer wading in the water or swimming. I'm lying atop it, being kept afloat by this creature, thinking this is one hell of a nice shark. But nonetheless, I would learn later when I was on a show, Primetime with John Quinones. He does that show, What Would You Do Here in America? It's international online. I said on the show, I thought there was a shark beneath me in the water. Well, people wrote into ABC News from all over the world. Went online, went viral. And one person's letter stuck out above all the rest. His name was Morgan McWard, and he writes, he says, Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet away from you when you jumped. Until this day, no one would tell me whether you lived or died. It's haunted me until now. By the way, there was no shark like you mentioned on the show, but there was a sea lion. The people above looking down believed it to be keeping your body afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you. If you don't call that a miracle, I don't know what is. And on that note, Maddie, I want to offer something to your audience. If you could pick one lucky winner from your audience that writes in a question, I will send them a Be Here Tomorrow Sea Lion T-shirt. Okay, as a giveaway. I want to do that, and I want to give a shout out real quick to Wendell Fields. Wendell Fields is on the feed. He's in the film Suicide: The Ripple Effect, just like Maddie is. And Wendell, we love you, mate. You're one of the best, and I'm wishing you the best, my friend. But back to the story at hand. When the Coast Guard boat arrived, I'll never forget the reaction of the officers. One guy puts his hand on my forehead and says, "Kid, you're a miracle." But the more senior officer says, "Son, do you understand how many people we pull out of these waters that are already gone?" I said, no, sir, and I don't want to know. He said, I'm going to tell you anyway. He said, 57 dead bodies from these waters this unit has pulled in less than a year, and one live one. Me. That's perspective, right, Maddie? I was the only survivor of 57 other deaths. 99% fatal suicide attempt for people in the last 83 years. Only 39 people have survived the fall of the Golden Gate Bridge. 39 people in 83 years, 1%. And only 26 of us remain alive today. Many have died of natural causes or old age. Only 5 of us, 26, get the privilege to stand, walk, and run. They call us the most exclusive survivors club in the world. There's a book of the same name by Ben Sherwood.
The journey.
I'm making a point here real quick, and I think this is important for your audience. I get to be here. And getting to be here is a privilege and a gift, no matter the pain you might be in. And if you can have gratitude inside your own pain, you can always survive the pain.
Correct. It is a miracle. We've got the jump itself, surviving the jump. Those waters you set in hypothermia. There's also sharks in that water. And then the Coast Guard boat arrived to your aid within the time frame. But it doesn't stop there, Kevo. You get wheeled into the San Francisco hospital, and who walks out of their shift the moment you get wheeled in?
I'm being wheeled in as one of the foremost back surgeons on the West Coast is leaving. He does me a solid and opts to stay. Performs a back surgery on me through my left side. 23 staple scar across my left side that no amount of skin cream is going to make go away. They took out my organs, placed them on my belly, and they went to work. Took out all the shattered pieces of vertebrae. I shattered my T12, L1, L2 lower vertebrae. They all popped and splintered. I missed severing my spinal cord that day by 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. And I wouldn't be walking or I wouldn't be alive. I would have drowned in that water. The doctors went in and they did a 10.5-hour surgery to replace my shattered vertebrae with titanium. And that's the reason I get to stand, walk, and run. Full physical mobility. They invented this surgery for me. It had never been done in the way it had been done, and it never has been done that way again. It's in a medical journal, the first and only of its particular kind. If all of this doesn't paint the picture of a miracle, I really don't know what is. I'm not asking everyone on your feed to believe in God and have faith. I do. I always have. You don't have to. What you do need to have faith in is the human condition and your own willpower and ability to fight the pain to survive at all costs. You can defeat the pain. It is a matter of perspective. I really believe that. Now, I recognize I'm more self-aware than a lot of people with mental illness, but you can get to that point with a great deal of hard work. And that's really, Maddie, where we turn into surviving that attempt, being in 9 psych ward stays after that in the next 11, 12, 13 years, having my last psych ward stay be just under a year and a half ago, which I went back willingly because I had to stabilize. But being in a place now where I utilize the art of wellness, a 10-step toolkit that I built to stabilize mentally. Let me know if you're ready to talk about that. We don't have to talk about that yet, but I found a way to create a program, a regimen, a routine that helps me stabilize that I've followed for the better part of 10 years now. Now, I've fallen off that routine on more times than I can count on my appendages, but I get back on the horse and I get back to riding and I get back to a better place. And I'd love to talk about that when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely, because this is a big part of what Mindful Loss is all about, and you know that, Kevo. I mean, as I said, I just want to reiterate to everyone that's listening, we don't tell Kevo's story for any other reason other than to let people know, 1, instant regret, 2, that how strong we can be, and when we tap into what exists within us, and the recovery part of Kevo's story, much similar to mine, is when we use our pain and find the magic in our pain and the gratitude in our pain to create something more meaningful for us for the rest of our lives. So, Kevo, we will get to that part. I just want to close off on the bridge by 1 year later. Pat Hines says, Kevo, he drags your ass back to the bridge and he wants closure. You don't, he does.
So let's talk about Pat Hines for a minute, first of all.
Talk about Pat Hines.
Throw that picture of Pat Hines back up, please.
All right.
When you can.
Here we go.
Come on.
There he is. There's
Patty Jabberjowls. That That's my dad, Pat Hines. There's me and my sister, Elizabeth. Pat Hines is a character. He's pretty much, I describe him in my speeches as a pragmatic, pessimistic, and stone-faced man. There you see him smiling. That was rare. But but you know, he's this guy that was the toughest on me. He thought I had the most potential. He was the toughest on me. He was like a drill sergeant that was never in the military, but he's a great father and a great human being. He was tough. He was hard to deal with sometimes. We had our ups and downs. We had our fights and our skirmishes. But after my attempt, a year to the date of my attempt, on the 25th of September 2001, my father picked me up from City College and said, "Kev, we're going for a drive." I said, "Yeah, Dad, where are we going?" He said, "Like I said, for a drive." Got that East Coast mentality. And I said, "Well, you know, oh, okay." And we're driving down 19th Avenue. And I know for a fact we're going to the Golden Gate. 19th turns into Park Presidio. That turns into the Golden Gate Bridge. There's only one place to go when you go in that direction. I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "We have to do this. He said, "We need closure." I said, "You need closure. I need to go home and lay down." Well, we pull up to the police officers union building over on Clement Street. I think it was Clement Street. And there's all these police bikes in the parking lot, all these police cars lined up. And there's these guys in these full dress blues in the windows, you know, their formal outfits in the windows. And there's a flower bed of a purple tulips and they've got yellow pollen inside. And he goes, "Hey, Kev, get out and pick a flower." And I go, "Dad, I'm not picking a flower at the police officers union building. I'll get arrested in San Francisco." He's, "Pick a goddamn flower." And I said, "All right, I'll pick a flower." So I jump out, grab a flower, get back in the car. The police don't chase us. We go to the Golden Gate Bridge. We get to the Golden Gate Bridge parking lot, and I am a mess. I have vertigo. I haven't even gotten outside the car. I'm nauseous. I'm not down for this. This is horrible. And we get out of the car. I take a breath. He goes, "Come on, Kev, we're doing this." And we go out, and he says, "Kevin, show me exactly where." And I knew the exact light rail that I had attempted at. I found the particular light rail. I stood next to it with my father. He grabs my left hand with his right, and we say an Our Father prayer and a Hail Mary. And with my right hand, I've got the flower. We finish the prayers, and he says, "Drop the flower." I push out my hand. I drop the flower. It wafts down very slowly, hits the water, and makes the tiniest of ripple effects, hence the name of the film, and 2 feet to the right pops up a sea lion. And it was arguably the most beautiful moment I have ever spent with my father, next to him being the best man at my wedding, and there was no other choice. So, you know, that man has a very special place in my heart. He saved my life just as many times as Margaret has. And he's just a good dude. And I feel funny saying that about my dad, but like, he and Debbie Hines took us in and changed our lives forever. You know, forget that I attempted to take my life. I didn't want to. I believed I had to. Those are two categorically different things. But the fact that Debbie and Pat Hines gave me a life worth living and took me in and made me their son and shared with me hope, light, and love that was unconditional is a gift from the heavens above. So shout out to Pat and Debbie Hines.
Yeah, and shout out to Margie too. And we're going to get to Margie throughout this, and she's probably resting up right now. But I mean, the same sort of approach. Again, like you said at the start, Kevo, the only people that have the knowledge to and the skill set in which to know what to say in those moments is a very small amount of people. However, if you always lead from the heart, you can do no wrong. And two people that lead from the heart is your old man, Pat Hines, and Margie. And I've had my experiences where I've been on tour in America and been suicidal, and Margie has kicked my ass and led with her heart. And it's what snapped and interrupted in my brain pattern to tell me, shit, Matt, she's right. And it snapped me out of that suicidal ideation. As Margie said,
Margie too.
Yeah, I just think that that's a great lesson for everyone out there is if we always show up and lead with our heart and know that we always have what it takes, but by being silent and letting someone in emotional distress just be is you can't hurt if you're always leading with your heart, and you've saved many lives doing that, Kevo, and Margie's played a big part on my life with that as well, the same way Pat and Margie have with yours, Kevo.
Absolutely.
I just want to within 60 days, you're in a back brace, you're in a walking frame, you're in an emotional pain. You've 60 days after jumping off that Golden Gate Bridge, you're at the very rock bottom of life. You walk out and deliver your first speech.
Yeah, so it was actually, let's see, it was Good Friday of the same year, of the next year. So I had an attempt in September, and then Good Friday of September Good Friday of 2001, which is the beginning of the year. It wasn't 7 months. It wasn't 7 months after my attempt. Somewhere between 6 and 7 months after my attempt, well, first of all, let's tell a story about like how I began talking in the first place. I had no want, need, or inclination to tell my story to anybody. Anybody. Everybody in my family and my circle of friends already knew. The entire school knew. My sister's entire school knew. The community knew. The churches knew. They were saying prayers for masses for me while I was in the hospital. In the psych ward I was in after my physical recovery, which was I went from a wheelchair to a walker and a back brace to a back brace and a cane. I'm in my physical recovery. I get from there into a psychiatric unit, the first psychiatric unit of the next 9. And I end up in the psychiatric unit, and the chaplain of the unit who'd worked there for 30 years was a Franciscan friar. You know the guys with the black robe and the white rope and all that stuff? He's in the Suicide Ripple Effect, Brother George Cherry, the film. This guy would look at the chart on the wall outside of your room. He would read the chart, and then he would enter and have a prayer with you. He would never enter a room without reading a chart for the better part of 30 years. For some reason, he felt compelled to just walk into my room. No chart reading, doesn't know why I'm there. I'm putting on my back brace. I have my cane with me, which I'm about to stand up on. And he goes, "Hey, kid, what are you in for?" I said, "Well, brother, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge." And he goes, "Yeah, and I'm the Pope." He thought I was delusional. He thought I was crazy. I said, "No, brother, that's what happened. That's why the back brace, that's why the cane. I literally did that." And he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. Let's pray." And he comes over and puts his hand on my forehead. His other hand's got the red rosary in his hands. And, oh, wow. Sorry, Maddie. D. Wright, I'm so glad you're here.
Likewise.
So glad you're here, D. Wright. Please stay. Please be here tomorrow and every day after that. We love you. We need you to stay. You are amazing. You are worthy, and you are valued, and this is why we tell this story. Wow.
To every single person out there right now going through unbearable amounts of emotional pain and distress, and I know we've got a few listening, and I'm so grateful that you've found this conversation tonight and you've found Kevin Hines and myself through here tonight. Please reach out. The numbers are running along the bottom. Please speak to me afterwards. Speak to Kevo. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and so much for your vulnerability and sharing what you're sharing in the comment stream. This is why we do this stuff, and I'm just so grateful for the vulnerability that's being shown and the love that's being shown in the comments. Please be safe, and remember to reach out to the numbers at the below. But please stick around for this chat and hear more inspiration from Kevin Hines, because he's about to give us the tools, tips, and strategies in which to live well. Kevo.
Yeah, mate. Sorry, that just threw me for a loop right there, man. It brought tears to my eyes. For those of you who don't know, a person just wrote in and said, "You just saved my life tonight." So that's just I'm all teary-eyed right now. So just bear with me. Also, we've got the Australian Lifeline numbers there, but if you're in America, you can text CNQR to 741-741, the crisis text line. That's CNQR, stands for Conquer Your Pain. So remember that as well. Or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255, +1 for military. Back to the story at hand. Where did I leave off, Maddie?
I was taken aback by that comment too, Kevo. I think when you were you're the father of the church.
Yes, yeah. So Brother George Cherry, fantastic gentleman in his 70s now. He's a Franciscan friar, and he comes in and he doesn't believe me. And I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, puts his hand on my forehead, and hand on the rosary, and we pray a little bit. And he says, "Kid, when you get out of here, you want to talk about this." I looked at him and I said, "About what to who?" And he said, "You'll see." Every day, Brother George Cherry would come in. Every day he would say, "You want to talk about this?" Every day I would ignore him. And finally, on the last day of my stay, he goes, "Ked, I expect you to talk about this." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, buddy. See you later." And I get out of there and I go home. And very shortly thereafter, my dad takes me back to the church I grew up in, St. Cecilia's. And the priest there was Monsignor Michael Harriman, who was then just a father. Monsignor is a tear up from father. And he comes out of the service, which I felt was directly talking to me. Like, I felt like my dad had a powwow with the priest. I was like, let's make a sermon just for Kevin, or a service and speak right to him, because I felt like he was talking right to me. It was like all about affirming life and staying here and fighting the pain, and it was amazing. And so the priest comes out, Monsignor Harriman, and he says, "Kevin, how would you like to come and talk to our 7th and 8th grade class about your experience this Good Friday, about 120 kids?" And I looked at him, I said, "Father, I don't have a speech, and I wouldn't know what to say." And my father took his other mid-sized hand, shoved me forward, and said, "He'll do it." And I was like, "Oh, no, Dad, I don't want to do this. What are you doing? Get out of here." And he goes, "You'll do it. We need closure." I'm like, "This damn closure thing with you again, like, I need to go home and lay down again. What are you talking about?" And so I go home, and on the day of the speech, I write a speech till 3 in the morning. Like, it was from 12 p.m. midnight to 3 in the morning when I wrote this 17-page, 45-minute to read aloud speech. I read it to my dad the next morning at 7 in the morning. He edited it till 8 in the morning. We go to the rectory at 9 to go speak to these kids. I am a nervous wreck. I've got my back brace over my shirt, which makes you look like a goofball, just so you know. And I've got my cane that I'm walking with, and I've got my 17-page stapled presentation, or non-stable presentation together. It's got a paperclip on it. I take the paperclip off, and I get in front of these 120 kids sitting cross-legged in their Catholic uniforms on the floor, and I give the speech, the first speech I ever gave. I still have it, actually. I still have it in one of my files in a file holder somewhere. And I'm dropping page by page to the floor with one hand as I read them directly from the page. I'm reading and looking up, reading and looking up. And I'm crying through the whole speech. I'm shaking like a leaf because it's totally raw. And I finished thinking to myself, that helped no one. What the heck am I doing? And 8 hands go up. And the first question was totally inappropriate. And the nun goes, "Don't answer that." And I said, "I won't answer that." But the next 7 questions were inquisitive, intelligible, wonderful, powerful, emotive, impactful questions. I answered them to the best of my ability, and I realized immediately we had an impact. 2 weeks later, Monsignor Herman calls me to the rectory and says, "Come by, I have something to give you." My dad was at work. I hiked 2 miles up the hill to get to St. Cecilia's, sweating through my back brace onto my cane. It was a hot day in San Francisco, which is rare. And I get there, and I sit down in his office, and he hands me a manila envelope and says, "Open it." I open the envelope, and there is a beautifully hand-drawn, pencil-colored drawing of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Inside that is 120 letters from 120 kids expressing their feelings for the speech. Now, I'm no fool. I know they were mandated to write those letters. 120 kids didn't get together like, "Let's all write to the suicidal guy," but they wrote, and several of them were actively suicidal, and they wrote that in their letters because they were minors under the age of 18. Those letters were screened by the teachers, and those kids are alive today. So the lesson you learn is that we can have a great impact through storytelling, and it can change lives. It can even save lives. Right now, my wife and our team at the Kevin and Margaret Hines Foundation have done a white paper study on the efficacy of my story and how it changes lives. We have a quantitative and qualitative analysis of how that story can save a life through the power of storytelling. When you tell a story like we're doing right now, even though we're digitally doing this, Look what happened with D right on the feed. When we do a story like this right now, what happens is the person listening or watching receives, like through their neurotransmitters, they receive through the elasticity of the neuroplasticity of the brain, sticky memories that stay with you. So every time you become suicidal in the future, you think of this story or a story like this, and you decide to stay. This doesn't happen with everyone, but there's a lot of science behind the art and science of storytelling. And if you tell a story in a way that implores recovery, honestly, and wellness and well-being, and that fight to live, you can actually have a transformative effect on the life of someone in great mental pain. I think this is a perfect place, Maddie, to talk about what led to the art of wellness and how people can find it, utilize it, and change their lives. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I said, my rediscovery of hope was visible in hearing your story. We met in 2016. I've been on tour with you, and I thought I was well. I was living with depression, anxiety. I was on tour with you. I started to experience, a lot of different thoughts and feelings that I knew I'd been going through for a long time. And it was when I was over there every single day on tour with Kevo that I was hearing his story that enabled me to go in and get further help and support. And that was when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Ever since my diagnosis with bipolar disorder, I've grown tenfold. That stuff does not happen. I'm not able to have these conversations and run this organization did not start without a story of hope, healing, and recovery. I just can't. I know we cop a lot of shit in this country. I know you cop a lot of shit in this country too, Kevin, for advocacy that's done by lived experience, not deemed professional. It frustrates me. Everybody knows that when the time comes when this country deems us as professionals, Kevin, for the experiences in which we've got, the knowledge in which we've shared, these will be so many more people in this country find hope, healing, and recovery because they'll find the people that they relate to best and the people that can help them get their method of support. As you said, no one wears the same size pants. No one wears the same color pants. Everybody's different and everyone's got a different journey. However, if you do these things that Kevo's about to mention, included in the art of wellness, they go a long way to supporting therapy and medication, which, of course, if that's your path, that's your path. And as for Kevo, we'll mention that it is his path. So, Kevo, jump into that, mate, the art of wellness. What does it look like and how does it go?
Before that, you mentioned the clinician/lived experience side and how there's a lot of clinicians right now around the world, not necessarily clinicians, but definitely professionals in the field of mental health and suicide prevention that compete with each other for dollars. They compete with each other for access and care. And clinicians are crucial. They're important. They're valid. They're vital to this well-being. So are doctors and nurses and psychiatrists and psychologists and everybody who's ever done any academic study on suicide prevention, mental health. They're crucial. The problem we run into is that they look at us, those who don't have degrees, as less than or not as worthy, or our stories aren't that important. The facts say different. The scientific look at the neuroplasticity of the brain and how storytelling affects that brain and can change a life forever is irreputable. It's proven. It's absolutely fact. So what we hope someday is that those professionals look at lived experience individuals with the same respect that they look at their own colleagues with the same letters behind their name. Because we should earn as much as they are. We should be doing as much work as they are, and we should be as respected as they are in the field. I was once at a lunch meeting with some of the top suicidologists in the field. We were outside in a barbecue having fried okra in Oklahoma, and this was right as the lived experience movement was taking off, and I got asked the question, what do you think about the lived experience movement and all these lived experience speakers that are popping up? And I said, I think it's great. I think our voices need to be collected. I think they need to be heard, and I think they need to be disseminated widely and appropriately and safely. And the guy next to me said, well, I think they're too loud.
I get that all the time.
I quietly had to remove myself from the situation. Nonetheless, back to the story at hand. Here's what I want to share with all of you. I want to share with all of you. Oh, wait, we got to read this. As Veronica Coulter sends a great, big, important message. As a professional, I have learned more through lived experience speakers than I could ever learn in a textbook. Why? Because real is relatable. Real is relatable. Hashtag that, Maddie. You got it all set. Okay. So back to the story at hand, Art of Wellness. I developed a 10-step toolkit, a plan to better my brain health. It's called the Art of Wellness. It is a regimen and a routine that I built based off of a Time magazine article in 2004 that I read in a psych ward. That the front of the magazine said how to battle bipolar disorder, depression, mental illness with routine and regimen and win. And so I went and I wrote up a program for myself, and I follow that program every day to the best of my ability. Now, I've fallen off that program, like I said in the beginning, but I get right back on the horse and I ride. The program is 10 steps. I'm just going to tell you 3 of them, and I'm going to direct you where to go to get the plan. Yep. Education, exercise, eating healthily. Educate myself as to my diagnosis so I can know all the reputable, proven forces of treatment for it so I can defeat it. Exercise most days without fail so I can feel better physically, but so that when I do 23 minutes of rigorous exercise, it leads to 12 hours of better brain health. Do that twice a day. That's 24 hours of better mood. And then educate, exercise, and eating healthily. Now, I've been having a hard time eating healthily lately because the new medication I'm on affects my leptin. It depletes all the leptin in my system. The leptin in your system is the chemical in your body naturally produced to tell you when you're full. If you have no leptin, you cannot feel full. And so you constantly feel like you have to keep eating, which I'm struggling with that right now. I was in phenomenal shape just 4 months ago, and now I've put on a bit of weight, but I'm going to get right back on the horse. I'm going to ride, and I'm going to get right back to shape and get it done. And it's a matter of, it's mind over matter. It's how I tell myself, Kevin, you've already eaten enough. You've eaten this much, the fist's full, and that's all you need. Put that on the plate. Don't eat any more. And so I'm working on that process right now to get back into physical shape. That all said, exercise, eating healthily, education, advocacy, self-advocacy, and legislative advocacy are crucial to better your brain health and to also be a part of physical change in the mental health field. Those are 4 of my 10 steps. Some of the other ones include therapy, meditation, medication. For me, it helps me a lot. I have to take it. I have severe psychotic episodes. If I don't, I'm in a bad place. It's not for everybody. But if you go to youtube.com/Kevin Hines and you hit subscribe and click that bell, there are 400 plus videos all on brain, mind, mental, behavior, health, and well-being that can help you better balance your brain health. Maddie, would you consider putting that in your ticker below?
Yep, that's going to happen right now, Kevo.
Right on, brother. So
there's a playlist available on Kevin Hines' YouTube. Yes. He's got it all broken down into playlists where you can see his Art of Wellness. You can see all his YouTube, his vlogs, his interviews with people. It's very easy to navigate through, and there's a wealth of information and knowledge on that page. This guy never puts the camera down, so he's always capturing. Knowledge. And again, I reiterate, I've learned a lot from this guy right here. So you know where to go to find it. There's not a day in this guy's life where it's not filmed. So go and find it. It's all up there for you. YouTube at Kevin Hines, please. I encourage everyone. And there's some other great advocates on there that he shares this journey with that you'll learn a lot from as well. I mean, I've learned a lot from Paul Dalio is someone else that I've learned a lot from. Kevo, the one thing that I want to mention about your Art of Wellness that I think I haven't seen a lot of Australians do, and I think it's a really great one and very, very tight that it needs to happen, is your support system and how everyone from your hairdresser to your doctor to your medication to Margie to some, when I'm in America, it's me. That every single person is engaged in your wellness plan so that they all know what's going on and they're all in sync. Can you explain that?
So I developed the last step of the 10-step guide, The Art of Wellness, found on youtube.com/Kevin Hines, and the playlist, The Art of Wellness. 10 videos, 12 videos, 10 steps to bettering your brain health today. People are saying that within 6 to 9 months of following this program, they're dramatically improving their mental, brain, mind, behavior health from all over the world, as far as Peru, Africa, China, and Japan. On that note, the last part of the plan of the 10 steps is called the plan, and it's a mental health emergency plan where everybody in my protective network, my personal protectors as I call them, I've opted them into my plan. They have release forms signed by my doctors to say they can talk to my doctors, so that when I'm having a hard time but I'm not self-aware, they can literally call my doctors and say, "Hey, Kevin's acting funny. Is there anything we need to know about?" in his treatment. How can we help him best, and what can we do to help him stabilize? And so when I am struggling, everybody around me knows about it. I'm honest in my pain. I'm completely self-aware to the best of my ability. There are occasions when I fall off that pattern too, but I get right back together and get it done. And Maddie, you know, I've come to you before instead of having a hard time, and you've been that rock on my, you know, that shoulder to lean on. I really appreciate that, Maddie. You know, so whoever is in front of me are the people that I'm going to go to. And that means, like, if I'm traveling without my wife or without my father and I'm busy doing something and I don't have a speaking partner and it's just me, and I'm having a hard time and I'm at the airport, you best believe I'm going up to a TSA agent and I'm asking for help.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it.
You bet. Always. And, you know,
sorry, Kevin.
No, it's just, listen, you have a choice here. As our good friend Sam Webb says, a pain shared is a pain halved. A pain shared is a pain halved. He, I don't know if he coined that phrase, but I know he says it a lot. And I know I really took that. I took reference to that when he first said it when he was traveling with me speaking, you know, and us actually. Pain shared is a pain halved. If we share a pain, a struggle, a strife, it is diminished. It is flattened because we feel better because we've gotten it off our chest. It's a natural human reaction to someone empathizing with your struggle. You feel what's called relief, and that is crucial.
The latest evidence and research shows that secrecy is the biggest trauma and the biggest pain to the brain. So more damaging to the brain than a physical injury or the trauma itself is secrecy. What we internalize, what we suppress becomes our biggest barrier to help and support. So again, it's about getting that thoughts, feelings off our chest and out into the open. As I said, when me and Kevo have toured before, as soon as I was pulled over to tour with Kevo and opened for him in 2016, 17, I was made aware of everything Kevin experienced, from his visual and auditory hallucinations to his chronic suicidal ideation, to the foods that he needed to eat, to the places in which he needed to sit on the airplane, to if we're in a restaurant, he needed his back to the window. He couldn't look out the window because, you know, he might experience an ideation. So all these things I was able to know about prior to going on tour with him. And when I'm on tour with him, you know what situations to avoid. This sounds very simple, but I know there's a lot of people out there that suppress their thoughts and feelings. What we don't know, we can't help with. So by knowing everything that Kevo's going through, I'm able to help. And likewise with me, I was able to build my support system being away from home with Margie and Kevo and the rest of the team, that they were able to identify when I was struggling. Hence why Margaret was able to pull me up and understand that he's feeling suicidal ideation right now. And she kicked me under the table and had a chat to me. So what you don't know, you can't help with. And you can only as good as the information you know in the moment that you got. So what about finding out all the information about the people around us and what they need to see, hear, and feel to be well?
100%. We need to be able to be honest in our pain and our struggles so that people around us can help us. It's that simple. Shout out to Mr. Stewart, who just made a comment. He's a buddy. Can we look at this, Maddie, this question by Meredith?
Yes, because I love this topic of loneliness. I'm a big Johann Hari fan, and I love loneliness. Loneliness is such a huge problem. Not everyone has a big circle of friends. It's so great to link into groups like Mindful Oz. Absolutely. I'll just quickly, Kevo. Absolutely, Meredith. You've got to find the human being is wired for love, belonging, and connection. So it's really important to find the people that are willing to listen to you. And that's bloody hard these days. So to find groups like this, where groups of advocacy, we're all on the chat tonight for the same reason. We all care about this topic. What better place to find people that are actually engaged or turn up with empathy, compassion, love, support and care for whatever you're experiencing? These are the best places to go to find those people, whether they're strangers or not. They won't be for long.
We love you, Meredith. You're not alone. We're here for you. We care about you. We're glad Absolutely. You're here. Yeah, and we know not everyone has a giant circle of friends or family. We know that some families are no good for each other, and whether there's abuse or neglect or whatever it may be. Just if you can realize after this feed that you are valued, you are loved, and you matter, and that we are telling you to look in the mirror today and say, I love you so, and then say your name. I love you. You're the greatest. You're the best. You're wonderful. You're amazing. and you can retrain your brain and your negative inner critical voice to become a positive inner critical voice. What do we know about the greatest faiths in the world? They have 3 things that make them all very specific. Recite, repeat, believe. Recite the prayer, repeat the prayer, believe what the prayers state or what they mean. Recite, repeat, believe. So whether you have that faith in the higher power, faith in God or not, you can recite, repeat, believe all the positive things about yourself to the mirror instead of those negative affirmations. And you can then eventually recognize that you know you are a great person. You know you are beautiful. You know you are important. You know you're worthy. So looking in the mirror, as goofy as it may seem, like I do on a regular basis, and saying, I love you, Kevin. You're the greatest. You're the best. You're wonderful. You're the man. And you're an all-around good dude. That helps me recognize my true value and be thankful for this wholehearted approach, and I have gratitude for the pain so I can survive.
It's so important, and Kevo knows we're big advocates of everything that the video at the start says, putting the wellness back in our own hands, and that's what Kevin's done. He doesn't rely heavily on one person. He doesn't rely heavily on someone else to do all the work for him. What Kevin does is works tirelessly every single day on his own well-being. He has all the supports around him. The supports can't lift the pen and put pen to paper for him. He has to have the wellness plan in place that he knows left foot, right foot, and he knows sometimes he might not do it like he said before, but he'll pick it up the next day and get back on that horse like he said and keep riding. So build that wellness plan. I'm seeing a lot of comments pop up about it. Again, after this is we're obviously confined to time tonight. Me and Kevo could speak for weeks, but build that wellness plan, and we'll help you build that wellness plan. And as we said before, Kevin Hines' YouTube is a great place to start on places like gratitude, meditation, reflection. But one of the most important ones I want to talk about, Kevo, because as we mentioned before, she's saved your life many a time. She's a fantastic lady. I love her dearly. Here she is here, Margie Hines. The reason I want to talk about this, Kevo, is because it's not just a matter of having a wife. It's not just a matter of having a support. And it's not as if she just saves your life because she can. There's a way in which she does it. And there's a way in which we advocate for people to show up and hold space and to support people. What is it that Margaret does differently to everyone else that makes you feel so supported?
Well, first of all, she loves the heck out of me. And she shows me that every day. We met in my 3rd psych ward stay. She was visiting her cousin, who was in the psych ward for drug use. And he's, by the way, a decade and some change sober now. And I felt, for me, it was love at first sight. I looked into her eyes, and I knew she'd be the rest of my life. And the difference in her, she's this really, really tough angel. She's got this exterior that's like she's thick-skinned. Nothing gets to her. Like nothing bothers her. She's super strong. She's got a will like nobody I've ever seen in my life. She's got a willpower and she's got a strength like no one I've ever known. And she knew from the get-go that our life would be difficult because of my disease. She knew it. We have had our ups and downs because of my disease, just like I have with my dad, just like I have with my mom. But with Margaret, the love of my life, my very best friend, my gift from God, my greatest gift that I've ever received was Margaret Hines. She has come into my life in a time when I desperately needed someone to get me on the right track, someone to get me on the straight and narrow and onto a balanced life. And although I've had ups and downs with my mentality and my mental health, and I've fallen off my routine and I've really struggled and it's affected her in a great way, she's never let me go, never let me down, and never let me fall too far in the rabbit hole. She picks me back up, and she has saved my life. Like I said, 2 times before, more times than I can count on my appendages. And she is the single greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you mentioned at the start, which I think is really important, is that, Angel, but she has that tough skin, and that tough skin that doesn't let anything get to her. But it's more so the fact, Kevo, like she's quite happy to tell you exactly what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Not what I want to hear. No. She tells it like it is. She doesn't pull any punches. She doesn't play any games, and she is not about bullshit. It is all facts. And if you're not, if you're out of line, she's going to let you know, me or otherwise, anybody. It doesn't matter who's it. Doesn't matter if it was the president of the United States or Gandhi. She's going to tell you how she feels.
Yeah, she does. But I think it's an incredibly important point because there's a lot of people on this journey that tiptoe around and are so scared of saying what needs to be said because they feel that they might upset someone. Sometimes, as long as you show up in a place of love and your message is delivered from the right place, sometimes people need that firm push. Sometimes people need to be told what needs to happen rather than to be told, yep, just bathe in your crap and keep doing the thing that you're doing, knowing damn well that what they're doing is not going to help their well-being.
Yeah, that's right.
So being able to show up like Margie does, I mean, she's kicked my ass a fair few times as well, but it's the place I'm in. And, Beck, that I got that Beck's Sean's mum, Kevo. I think you've met Beck before. Same thing. I was very firm with Beck, but she knew that what I was saying come from a place of love, and that them teachings come from Margie. I seen the way in which Margie did it, and she would unclass herself as a mental health advocate, but Margie is one hell of an advocate.
Oh, you know what? When they ask her to speak in public, she does a better job than I do. She's really got this natural way of speaking that is no holds barred, no bullshit, no playing around, and she gets it done.
Yeah, she does. I'm a massive fan, and you can probably hear that in the way I've brought her up so many times. But I think this is a great comment from Ingrid as well. And thanks for engaging so much tonight, Ingrid. Such a beautiful testament to how you can still find love with a mental illness. And I think that's so bloody important to put out there right now, because I think there's a lot of people in this world that believe they have to suppress who they are and what they experience with their diagnosis at the fear that they'll never find love.
Find someone to be honest with. Find someone you can be truthful about your pain with, so you can get over it. Maybe it's not going to happen for everybody. I would hate to say that, maybe, but just know that you are worth loving. You are important to love. You should be loved, and to keep searching for that in a way that's safe and appropriate, because we want everyone who wants that outside of themselves love to come in to get it, and to be showered with it, and to be happy. And at the very least, if you don't find love in a partner, have enough self-love to live a great life. And when you don't have self-love, you've got to practice those self-affirmations in the mirror to change the way you think about yourself.
I love that, Kevo. Love that. And I mean, you've built this wellness plan. You go around the world doing what you do 300 days of the year. I'm very similar these days, and I learned that from you. Kevo, you've met some fantastic people. I'm going to put up one here who's just been through her own recent struggles. And that's only one of very many that you meet on this journey.
Look at my face in this picture.
Demi Lovato. So, I mean,
is this really happening?
What's that, sorry?
Look at my face in this picture. I'm like, is this really happening?
But they all look to you, mate. You've Gerard Butler. You've met Logic. You've met Logan Paul. All these sorts of people that look to you for hope and healing, and have come to you for advice. You're obviously very good at what you do, but the key to it is that you do it very authentically and honestly, mate. And what you share is so inspiring. I'm going to put this one up, Kevo, because I want to talk about this experience.
Oh, well, first, shout out to Demi Lovato, because they brought me to their concert. I spoke beforehand to their group of kids. It was a phenomenal experience. Did it twice, actually. It was a phenomenal experience. So thank you, Demi Lovato, and her whole camp for having me out there. The work she does in mental health is crucial. But this picture you've got up now, there's our good man Logic doing the 1-800-273-8255 suicide prevention song he wrote. If you look there, to my direct right is John Draper of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, standing behind my lead. And there's me right behind Logic. At the end of the Grammys, when Logic finished the song and the cameras turned off, he turned around and gave me the biggest hug possible. And I'll never forget it, because and I later learned that he told his manager, Harrison Remler, that's what he was going to do, that if I stood behind him, he was going to give me a big hug. So he kept true to his word, and it meant the world. It really meant the world. And he before the actual event, he stood with me and talked for a bit about my story. What a gift. What a good man. the guy really cares about social change, which is pretty cool.
I love that. Love that. If anyone's got any questions, remember to send them in. Yeah, let's continue to pick Kevo's brain while we've got him. But Kevo, I want to talk about something that's really important. And we have briefly touched on it, but your journeys, your severity of your level of bipolar is obviously different to most people with bipolar disorder. You've had all the different medications in the world. As you mentioned at the very start of the show, you've had medications that have caused toxicity within your brain. As I said, I don't advocate away from medication. I just want people to know what exists, and I also want people out there to know, as we were speaking prior to this going live, Kevo, is about the importance of knowing what we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah.
And I know it's a big part of your whole, not only the food you eat, but the medication and understanding what it is and how it's going to affect you and impact you so that you can work through your wellness and the different pain that you experience through day-to-day living.
One thing I learned recently, it was about inflammation into the system and inflammatory versus non-inflammatory foods. Instead of going into a big, deep roundabout about these foods, since we're low on time, I'll just say there's a book right now called The Inflammation Spectrum. The Inflammation Spectrum. And it is a book you can read, and there's another one called Genius Foods by Max Lugavere. Those two books I highly recommend, Genius Foods and The Inflammation Spectrum, because they help you understand through a process of elimination what foods negatively impact your system and your body and your brain. Our gut health is directly related to our brain health. The gut biome and the membranes in your gut that are attached to the brain affect your mental well-being. A lot of foods we eat, like gluten and dairy, they break the blood-brain barrier and very negatively affect the brain and the chemicals in the brain and mental illness in the brain. So if you're suffering, pardon me for saying that, if you're struggling mentally and you eat poorly, you are going to have more aggression, more debility, more anger, more upsetness, and more depression and more struggles mentally than if you ate things that were non-inflammatory. So I implore everyone who's watching, who's not eating a healthy diet, who knows they're not eating a healthy, nutritious foods, which we're not suggesting that any one kind of diet is best. Eating paleo doesn't make you healthy. Eating vegetarian doesn't make you healthy. Eating vegan doesn't make you healthy. It's a combination of good, nutritious foods, healthy fats, healthy proteins, healthy vegetables, etc., that can help keep you intact mentally. But if you look up, read, and understand inflammatory versus non-inflammatory foods, you're going to significantly change your mental health for the better. I'm lucky, Margaret and I'm a sous chef. We make foods every day that are healthy and good. We just made a great, an amazing pitcher of almond milk. And it sounds funny, but we make our own almond milk with turmeric, cinnamon, and dates. All of those are brain healthy foods when taken in the proper amount and not overdone. And they affect things like preventing cognitive decline. They help you with depression and anxiety. Can you imagine just making your own almond milk without any carrageenan, which is a dangerous chemical that's put in almond milk in the stores? When we make it at home, it's all natural. That's just one thing. We just did a video on YouTube about our almond milk recipe to help people change their brains today. So that's coming out in the next couple of days.
Awesome. Love that, Kevo. Love that. I'm just going to... Yeah, awesome. Loving that. Yeah, I'm just going to run through some questions, Kevo. I've got some questions for you of my own, but please keep them coming in the comments just to the side while we've still got Kev. Is that one here? Oh, here we go. We've got the whole comment might not come up. Kev, I'm going to read it out to you. Kev, you work and advocate for a space and demographic where we might not see the problem completely disappear during our lifetime. I advocate for the homeless population, and despite the seeds we plant and the changes I know we bring about, sometimes the reality feels like we're fighting an uphill battle. When you feel like this about the mental health space, what inspires you to keep going, to keep fighting for change?
Roseanne, I love this question. It's fantastic. Yes, we see so much competition in these different fields for the dollars that are out there to help benefit these causes. that it almost, the actual cause almost gets lost in the shuffle, and people are forgetting what they're fighting for. And in that forgetting what they're fighting for, more people are dying, more people are left homeless, more people are left in mental struggles. When I see this, I always revert back to what is working. When I travel around the world and share my stories with people, I know it's having an effect because people write to me, talk to me, tell me, show me, share with me that their lives are being saved. So I know that there is a ripple effect that's being caused by my wife and I's work and all of my colleagues in the suicide prevention field that I love so much, the folks that are doing the hard work and on the grind, on the ground floor, like Maddie, like Joe Williams, like our friend Ashley Hunt, like our advocate folks like Sam Webb and Livin, like Ben Higgs out of Rise Australia, Rise Foundation. When you look at all the advocates out there, lived experience, clinical or otherwise, or academic, who are fighting tirelessly every day, there are actual physical changes you can see in the lives they are affecting. So I look to them. I look to the personal people that I know in the physical space, and I am grateful for the hard work they're doing to change the mental health field. We are going to get there. Maddie, I saw your live with Ben Higgs, and it was really fantastic. And one of the things that when he said that really struck me was when he said he looks at it like he's got this thing in his head where he looks at it like the AIDS epidemic back in the 60s and 70s, or the 80s, pardon me, in the 80s, and how AIDS patients were treated and discriminated against, and how he believes mental health is going to come on that cusp in the same way. I'm in complete agreement with Ben on this, that the way we treated people with AIDS is the way we're treating people with mental health right now. And in about 20 to 30 years, everyone's going to be aware. Everyone's going to be aware, and thus they're going to treat the topics differently, and there will finally be adequate funding for suicide prevention and mental health. Right now, we spend 3 times the amount of money on smallpox than we do on suicide prevention, which is killing 50 times more people. So let's spend smallpox hasn't killed anybody in 30 years. Let's spend that money on suicide prevention, which is killing more people than ever. In these last 4 months with COVID-19, we've lost about 260,000 people with suicide. We've lost 100,000+ with COVID-19, but 260,000 with suicide. Where is the public health campaign online, on TV, and otherwise for suicide prevention? I know COVID-19 is important. I recognize that it's terrifying the entire nation and the globe. I recognize that it's a global pandemic, but so is suicide, and it's at a much higher level. And yet where's our PR team to talk about that? Where's the PR and the daily White House briefings about suicide prevention when it kills so many more people?
We've got 14 deaths confirmed in Victoria. We're mindful Aussies, Kevo, to coronavirus. And as I said, we don't want to take anything away from that. But in the time that COVID's been in Victoria, we've lost triple the amount of suicides.
So how is it logic then to see where are these PR pushers to talk about this subject? And then better yet, Maddie, why aren't we talking about it? What is holding the media back from being honest about this global epidemic of suicide?
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, mate. But as we've said, Rose, for me, it's just about remembering my why, not my what and my how. Not about how I'm going to do it, not what I'm going to achieve. It's just my why. Why do I want to get out of bed every day and do the work that I do? And it's just important that you know that what you're doing is helping so many people. So you just get up and go again. And just know that you're impacting so many lives. And I know the work that you do, and Jason and the whole team at COTS are doing fantastic work. And it is hard, it is draining, it is tough. But just know that if not you, then who? You're doing fantastic work, and it's so important that you just keep doing it. And hopefully people listening to this, jump on, check out Rose and COTS and the work they do. More hands make light work. Everything in life is much easier done when we do it together. We've got some really compassionate people on this feed tonight. I don't advocate that you have to come and hang out with us at Mindful Oz, but there's some wonderful bloody organizations in this country. There's some fucking fantastic advocates out there doing inspiring work. Don't start your own. Don't get in the way. Go and support the established organizations that are kicking ass because they need you right now. Kevo, I'm just going to get into this next segment, which is my segment, on the spot, from the heart, the way we do it, the way you've always taught me to do it. First question.
Hey, Matty, you're good at this, man. You got the lockdown.
I don't know how to run the technology, Kevo. It's killing me.
I love you, Matt. I love you too, Matt. Roseanne says, love you, Matt. Love that.
Kevo, first question. Who's been the best teacher to you on your mental health journey?
The best teacher to me? It's got to be twofold. Margaret, my wife, and my former therapist, Gloria Frederica.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I also want to say, from the outside looking in though, Kevo, one of the best teachers that is on your journey is you. You know what you do. You are so self-aware, and you mentioned at the start, and I think it's important for everyone to understand and hear, and I'm going to be firm. Be self-aware about your behavior and your actions and making sure they align with the person that you are. Kevo doesn't. He goes through an unbearable amount of emotional pain daily, autoimmune diseases. He's been through hell, yet the self-awareness to know that that food doesn't work, that I'm going to go study that book, that I'm going to go watch that podcast, that I'm going to go and do this because I don't want to wake up, feel like shit tomorrow. Yeah. And he doesn't accept that. And he gets up every single day and he fights instead of surviving. And I think that there's a huge difference in those two things. So please, and Kevo, pat yourself on the back in that regard. But I need people to hear that, because take a leaf out of the work that this bloke does and watch what he does, because he gets up every single day and fights because he knows what joy feels like. He knows what it's like to live well, and he doesn't accept feeling like shit. No one deserves to feel that way. I'm
also inspired by our man, The Rock, and his ability to express himself in his own depression. That's what really inspired me.
We're going to get to The Rock in these questions. Number 2, Kevo, what brings you the most joy?
Margaret.
That's an easy one for you, isn't it?
Easy.
What's your biggest achievement to date?
My marriage.
I love that, mate. I love it. You don't waver. Who's some of the people, and this is probably The Rock right here, who's some of the people that you are so inspired by?
DJ Dwayne The Rock Johnson. The man is awe-inspiring. He's a specimen of a human being, and his ability to articulate what depression did to him and how he's overcome it is very inspiring for me to move forward in my life. And in the years after my attempt, in a 2005 psych ward, I was about to end my life prior to, and I remember rereading the book The Rock Says, and the passage about fighting depression and succeeding and beating it. And it was in that 2005 psych ward that I'd had that book signed by The Rock for years, since high school actually. And I ended up in the psych ward giving it away to a kid who needed it more than me, who needed that passage about depression and surviving it. And he's alive today too. So shout out to The Rock wherever he is in the world. I think he's in Atlanta with me somewhere, sheltering in place. Shout out to DJ Dwayne Johnson for changing my perspective in my life forever.
Love that, mate. Love that. Who do you look for or read and follow for information, knowledge, inspiration? Is there any of these? I know Rock's probably amongst that too, but is there people in the field of mind and behavioral health that you go, yeah, I draw a lot from them. I look to them. I follow them.
You know, I actually don't look to too many people or idolize too many people in a way like that. I appreciate their work, certainly. Like I would say some people I look to for inspiration in mental health would be David Covington, John Draper, Nancy Lubin of the Crisis Text Line, John Draper of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, David Covington of Recovery Innovations, Victor Armstrong, formerly of Atrium Health. Those are the guys that the big cheeses. John Santopietro of Silver Hill, formerly. Those are the guys that are my colleague heroes. You know, you're actually one of the people Maddie, that I look to, that I'm extremely impressed by. You've come up really well in this field, and you're so creative, and your ingenuity is so fantastic. You're constantly trying to grow and thrive, and you're doing a great job. It's very inspiring to watch you work and to learn techniques and tools from you that I've never even thought of, because I'm watching you carefully online, and you're doing things that are different and new in this space. And I wouldn't hesitate to I don't want to say copy, but ditto what you're doing, and put stuff out there that is similar, because it's effective and it's positive and it's powerful.
I appreciate that, Kevo, and it doesn't happen without the guidance and the wisdom that I've received from you from day one. So that's very mutual. I'm going to just throw in a third question here from Jazz. And Kevo, you're familiar with Jazz. What are your thoughts on trauma survivors who believe that they cannot ever get over or heal from their past?
And she says, I often see people who state that trauma is a life sentence. I don't believe it is. Would you love to hear your thoughts? Okay. So, Jazz, I love this question. I'm so grateful for it. First of all, Jazz, good to see you again. We met you in Australia. We got to be a part of your book. Your second book is out right now. It's fantastic. It's helping save lives. It's really awesome, the work you're doing, Jazz. Just to put that out there first. But for those trauma survivors who believe they cannot ever get over it, I don't want to say that you can. What I want to say is I challenge loved ones out there right now who know your loved one, family, or friend has suffered a trauma, and you're not really engaging with them for fear of what will become or the actions they might take. For those of you who love people in trauma, be the light at the end of their tunnel. Be the person that says, I got your back on lockdown, and I'm here for you no matter what. I'm in constant contact with people all over the world in trauma, and the one thing I know that gets them through it is someone on the other end of that phone call, or someone at the other end of that FaceTime call, or that Facebook phone call that they can see, hear, and know loves them and cares for them, saying, I got your back and you don't have to go through this alone. So instead of saying, I know they can get over, I think get over is the wrong way to put it. Yeah. I know they can move forward. Yeah. I don't think that we can always move on from trauma. Sometimes it's so bad that it just sticks right there at the front of your brain. But we can find a way to look to those who remain here to remain living and move forward. Look to the living and move forward is my best advice, Jazz, for people going through that trauma. And my secondary advice is for people around those who've gone through trauma, surround them with your love, no matter how fearful you are of their reaction. Surround them with your love, with your compassion, with your care, and most importantly, with your empathy, because that's what's going to change the day. You putting yourself in their shoes without judgment of them, with kindness and compassion, is going to absolutely augment their destiny.
So important. This journey, as we've already mentioned prior, this journey is much easier to do when we share it with other people. So find the people that live, walk, and replicate what it looks like to be well and live with trauma and to create magic with it. And that's what Kevin does. That's what I've done. And that's what many other advocates do, is to go out and find the people that have walked this path and walk it well, and create the magic with the pain that they've experienced. And they will help you and show you the ways in which they've done that. And you can take what you need from their journey and leave the rest behind, I think. I mean, you surround yourself by these sorts of people. Kevo, favorite podcast or book? You got one for us?
My favorite podcast is the Impulsive Podcast with Logan Paul, Mike Malak, and Spencer Taylor and Mac, as well as sometimes Jeff Levin. I'm sorry. I've grown to love Logan Paul as a younger brother. He's a good dude, and I know that he's been in a world of trouble for what he did in Japan, but he's grown from that. He's a good human being. He cares about suicide prevention. He's working really hard to help that cause, and his podcast keeps me entertained every second of it because it's so ridiculous. It's a little silly, but I love it.
I love that, Kevo. You got a book
for sure.
You got a book for us that you love or advocate for that people might read on their journey?
The two books I mentioned earlier, Inflammation Spectrum and Genius Foods. Inflammation Spectrum and Genius Foods and Crack Not Broken, of course. If you really want to change your outlook on life and you want to be better brain well, get Genius Foods and the Inflammation Spectrum, follow them to a T, and watch your life change forever.
And remember that YouTube channel of Kevo's, Kevin Hines on YouTube.
YouTube.com, Kevin Hines. Hit subscribe.
Plans and there will be a ton of information on that for you that you don't have to read. Well, any superpower in the world, Kevo, what would it be and why?
Any superpower in the world.
And you're a Marvel fan, so I thought you would have had this ready to rock and roll. Yeah?
I would say everything that Deadpool is, I would want.
Ryan Reynolds, here we go.
Deadpool.
3 people, alive or dead, that you could have to spend the day with. Who would it be and why?
Oh, okay.
Rock's one of those.
The Rock's one, but I think that I'd love to meet Jesus. The Jesus is one. All right, Jesus. You know what? It's got to be Jesus and my 2 birth parents.
I was going to say, you leave Margie out, you're going to get your ass kicked, Kev.
Oh, Margie, I like Margie every day. We're in quarantine. Come on.
I set you up there. Now, this one's more of a serious note. What would you say to young Kevin Hines? What would you say to little Kevo if you could turn back the clock?
I wish I could go back sometimes and be on that bridge with me that day. And I would put my hand on my shoulder and I would say, it gets better, kid. Give it some time. I would say, listen, everybody's going to die. We're all going to die someday. That's inevitable. None of us are immortal. We're all going to pass away. Give this life time for things to change. And that's not an original thought by me. That message was first portrayed to me by Anna Akana, YouTube star, who talks about her grandmother's suicide, or she's got a family member who died by suicide. Anna Akana said on one of her vlogs, you're pardon me one second. You're going to die just like all of us are going to die. Give yourself time for things to change. And that really hit me hard when I heard that for the first time. Really, I recognize that if we just give our struggles time with hard work, we can always defeat that pain. We can let our pain build us brick by brick from the ground up.
Yeah.
Instead of crumbling us down to the ground.
Love that. And keywords in that being hard work. This is no easy feat. And we haven't got into that tonight. I mean, as I've said, we could speak for ages, but I've seen the continual struggles that Kevo has to go through in order to live a healthy and well life. So it does happen, but it does take a lot of work, and it's a consistent thing. Yeah. One tip you could give someone right down the barrel right now, Kevo, for those that are in isolation right now to look after their wellness.
Okay, my biggest tip, 88% of the human population is not breathing properly. Into the nose, 4 seconds. Out through pursed lips like a whistle but no sound, 8 seconds. Do that 30 times when you wake up. Do it 30 times in the afternoon. Do it 30 times before bed after you work out. Breathe, everybody. Breathe. Your breathing affects your mental health. Your breath function affects your mental well-being. If you are not breathing properly, you are not functioning properly. It is pure fact. Get onto it. Find the right breathing technique for you. Recognize that if you have low blood pressure, not all of these will work for you, so you need to look up one that makes sense for you that's safe. Nonetheless, breathing is the key. When you are aggressive, upset, frustrated, angry, you are breathing shallow, short breaths that are affecting your brain capacity and stopping the oxygen flow to the brain. And you can change your mental well-being just through breathing. You can quell an anxiety, panic, stress attack, an adrenaline rush. Your blood pressure can go down, and your blood sugar can even go down. You can regulate your blood sugar, which is with breath. It's amazing.
Yep, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, Kevo. The three things that the human being can't live without is food, water, and oxygen. The thing is, we worry about our fab diets. We worried about the water intake. How many of us are walking around right now, as Kevo said, 88% or whatever you said, and aren't doing it? Breath work is the most important part that provides blood flow to different parts of the brain, to light up different parts of the brain. It strengthens our immune system. We're in a pandemic with a virus. What a better time to tap into our breath work to make sure that we've got strong immune systems. So breath work is so important. Glad you brought that up, Kevo. What's next for Kevin Hines, and where can we find him?
So you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Kevin Hines every Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. Thursday, we are going to be having some brain healthy food tips. Saturdays, we're going to be doing a great deal of different kind of vlogs, but some of them will be which Marvel characters and comic book characters and what mental health issues they have, and the relatability to humans across the world in this age of comics. And Mondays will be podcasts coming on our YouTube channel from folks all over the world. Some very popular, some actors, some in the entertainment industry, others just folks in the mental health community, and just fascinating stories of triumph over great adversity from all over the world. We're doing that. You'll see this interview up there as well. And then we're making a documentary called The Net right now about the 83 years it's taken to raise the net at the Golden Gate Bridge, and the fact that we're still having trouble with it right now. It's going to be an investigative, journalistic look at the history of the 8 fights to raise a net or rail at the Golden Gate Bridge and how they failed, and how this fight is finally winning, and how we're going to get a net up in that bridge, and how it's going to become the greatest and brightest suicide prevention beacon from around the world. And it's going to inspire bridges, tall buildings, and structures all over the globe to build themselves with barriers and nets straight away from the very beginning. We are working on a docu-series called The Journey, traveling all around the world, sharing stories of effective change that are connected to my personal story, from the thousands of people who've written in and said and called and talked to us that said that this story saved their life. We're actually going to meet them, hearing their stories, and hearing stories from individuals who are doing similar works in suicide prevention and the mental health field. Actually, Maddie, you are in some of our episodes of The Journey, so we've got that. We're going to get that edited and get that out to the world as soon as humanly possible. We're going to find a place to hold that footage and get it out to the world and try to help save some lives.
Love that. And just while I'm on it, before I forget, Suicide, the Ripple Effect. I've seen someone ask before. It's on iTunes, Kevo. Where else can they find that film? It's still available. Go on there and watch it, review it. You watch the 46-minute mark, you'll see me bawling my eyes out. The rest of the film's good too.
Suicide, the Ripple Effect is the film that came out. We won 6 international awards, including the Visionary Leadership Award, Visionary Honors Award from the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and the BAFTA awards. Best long documentary by the International Black Film Festival. It is a documentary about finding light at the end of the tunnel, changing your perspective, and finding hope when things are in their greatest hours of darkness. You can find that at iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, let's see, Amazon Prime, and YouTube.
Awesome. Kevo, I've just got one last question, and I know that this will be powerful, so everyone get ready to listen to this. If someone right now is considering suicide, Kevo, what do you want to say to them?
If you're considering suicide right now, I just want to say to you, stop, breathe. Now do that 15 to 20 more times. Hear my next words. You are loved, you are valued, and you matter to me. Suicide never has to be the solution to your problem. It is the problem. We want you to stay. No, we need you to stay. We need you to be here tomorrow and every day after that, because you are important to us. You're important to this world. Think of all the children who never make it past the womb. Think of all the miscarriages the world has ever seen. My wife and I know this pain very well. Our boy Jack Ryan lived 8 weeks and no more. But he was not intended to be here in physical form. You are, for the simple fact that I can see you through this lens and you can see my eyes looking into it. I know you're supposed to be here until your natural end. Suicide never has to be your answer. Hope is the solution. Once you find hope, you can find purpose. Once you find purpose, you can stay here. Please be here tomorrow. I love you.
And every day after that, as Kevo said, I thought nobody cared. The truth is everybody cared. I just couldn't see it. Every single person out there right now know that you are loved and you are worthwhile. Kevo Hines, mate, I love you. I appreciate you. Not just for coming on, as I said, and nearly got emotional at the end of this. And to Margie too, I hope you're still listening. Margie, you're not going back to bed. I just couldn't be more grateful for the love and support that you have shown me since day one. You've propelled my journey. You've put Mindful Oz on the map. And you have helped me become the advocate I am, which in turn I'm able to give these things back and to do these things tonight. And I will continue to do this journey because of the help and support that I've got from you and every single person involved in the Kevin and Margaret Hines Foundation. So thank you so much for tonight, Kevo. I love you. I appreciate you. And I know everyone's joining in there too. Love from everyone at Mindful Oz, mate. We all love you. And every single person in Australia is grateful for the work that you do on the hardest edges of love and life. You are brilliant at it. You've paved the way and made it. You're changing the way mind and behavioural health is both perceived and treated. And for that, mate, this country will be forever grateful. So thank you so much, Kevo. I love you. And I'm very, very grateful for you, mate.
Thank you, brother. And if you don't mind, I really appreciate being on with you today. Can I just do my intro for my later video real quick?
Of course you can. Yeah, let's do it. We're all let's do it.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
You want this to be live?
Huh?
You want this to be live or you want me to can this?
Keep it live. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. We're all part of it.
All right, if we can see my intro. Welcome to the Mental Health Marvels podcast. Mental health marvels are stewards of change for people in mental pain. We can all be a mental health marvel for somebody struggling today. Go outside, find someone who's going through it, and help them find a better tomorrow. Guys, let's check this out. We're here with Maddie Runnalls and myself to talk about hope, healing, the art of wellness and recovery for a bit of time, a little over an hour. Watch, listen, learn, and enjoy. Thank you guys so very much. Let's get into it.
Awesome. You're a legend, Kevo, and thank you so much for everyone tuning in tonight. I love you. I appreciate you. We're going to keep these guests coming. If I have to go to the other side of the world and wake Kevo up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm doing this for you, not for me. I love every single one of you, and I want you to be well the same way Kevo does. This week, Wednesday night, we've got Hadley Fisher joined us from Switzerland. We've got Sam Webb joined us from LA. I'm going all over the world to bring you mental health advocates that are making a difference and positive impacts on this world because I bloody love you and I want you to be here tomorrow. And as Kevo said, every damn day after that. Good night, everyone. I love yous a lot. Cheers.
Good night, guys.